Welcome to Alignment First. We are here to bring leaders back to their peace, presence, and power. And I have the honor and the pleasure to sit down with Tiffany Carole this evening, the creator of Aroma Point Therapy Fundamentals and Master Creator Academy, which has served visionaries and soulful entrepreneurs with high level digital education for a decade. And you are now spearheading this initiative, the Lumina Guild. We're in Toastmasters together. That's our original connection. And I got to hear your icebreaker speech and the nomadic lifestyle that you had, the journey in education and facilitation of this esoteric spiritual practice is so intriguing to me. And right before we got on the went live, I told you that I am intentionally ignorant of your practice and your history. I just know enough about it to trust you as a subject matter expert in this field. And the brief knowledge I have of your history in the professional realm is just so intriguing to me. So I'm so looking forward to downloading this with you today, Tiffany. And first and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time and energy to bring some wisdom to my audience.
Oh, thank you for asking. Really perfect
Mm-hmm.
timing.
Yeah. So you're relatively new back in the Valley, and a new mom, a new-ish mom. Got a 2-year-old. Tell me about how you came into this practice.
I have a question for you.
Ooh, here we go. Okay.
You said that after hearing what little bit you heard in Toastmasters that you were
Mm-hmm.
very intrigued.
Yeah.
So I'm genuinely curious, what intrigued you most?
Well, it's rare that in my lived experience that somebody is able to bridge the chasm between conventional academia and the spiritual practice of plant medicine facilitation.
Mm,
And I want to know about that.
okay, great. That feels juicy. Yeah. It all starts now. It's like I wouldn't I wouldn't even be able to show up in the capacity that I'm able to show up right now, which is meaning what I mean by that is that I can show up authentically as me. I can trust this process. I can trust what wants to flow through me. I trust my guidance. All of these capacities that have to do with like the deep inner streams,
Mm-hmm.
those can't really be taught from the outside in. It's something that each person has to go through. And so that me being able to be the living embodiment of that, streaming that right now is all thanks to what I would call plant medicine. And the way that I experienced plant medicine is maybe different than how some people might be thinking. It wasn't, I did psychedelics and things for fun years and years ago, but the plant medicine that I experience now is actually through essential oils and placing them intentionally on acupoints. But before we go there, I want to speak to this bridging thing
Mm-hmm.
that you talked about the, I don't remember how you said it, but like the science in this
Mm-hmm.
spiritual realm, we could
Yeah.
call it. I, I, I was, I have to say, it goes back to my birth. I died at birth. I was a home birth. I stopped breathing. This was outside Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I didn't breathe for 53 minutes. By the time I got to a hospital, which was in a car with no heat through the middle of a blizzard, the doctor said, "She's dead. What do you want us to do?" to my mom. And my mom freaked out, and they said, "Well, we'll try to resuscitate her, but if she lives, you'll be sorry." That's actually what they told her because they said that the brain damage would be so great.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, I was in a neonate unit in one of those little respirators for about a month, and I honestly think it's having died and
Mm-hmm.
come back, like whatever this is that we call crossing over. But there's something about like I I can move with this fluidity between the veils more so than most. That's there.
Mm-hmm.
But I also grew up in a family with mental illness and addiction and some other chaos-oriented dynamics where I just went full-blown into science and math. Like, I want to know, I need it to add up.
Certainty.
Certainty, this form of certainty. So I did that in my schooling, and I had a complete physical, mental, emotional, spiritual breakdown in my 20s when I was in medical school. And it was actually my recovery process that helped me to recognize that I'm here to be that bridge, because that was in fact what I needed to heal.
Tell me more about the healing, the awareness of what needed to be healed.
So if I, that's such a good question. I could, because I can answer the question from like my healer hat, because of course, as you know, I had a clinical practice for 20 years, and the healing was, it's viewed in this certain way to make better the symptoms that are the issue. But that's not the way I view healing anymore.
Yeah.
I think healing is remembering our wholeness.
Okay. What is it to remember being whole? As if through this existence in the physical plane that we are somehow fractured and need to be put back together is.
So I'm going to answer that question with a story, because I think it's the best way.
Yeah.
I had this clinical practice for 20 years, like I told you, and I would have these people come to me with their ailments, and I could see clearly if they did X, Y, Z, that they would definitely feel better. They would be on a relative scale, they would be more healed than if they didn't do these things. But most people wouldn't do the things I would tell them to do. It didn't really matter how many times I told them. And it was actually when I started doing the practice with putting the oils on the points, this one in particular, it's a reset with this ear point. And I could just feel that there was potency there. And one client that I had and I just loved him so much. And I felt like sometimes he thought I was being mean to him when I would scold him a little bit about, he was diabetic and he just kept eating bags of cookies and he was just making himself sick, But anyhow, this one time I just said, I just want you to every day do this practice. Just put this oil on this point every day. And a couple weeks later, he came back and he looked like a different person. And he starts telling me how he's been going out on walks and he's not doing cookies every night and his relationship with his wife is different. All this stuff changed. He was healing. He was healing because something in him shifted where he lined up with life force, as opposed to this sort of stagnant force, where he was blocking his own capacity to heal. And I don't think it was because I don't think anybody wants to do that. It's just part of what we do until we don't. So then from that perspective, healing is whatever is needed for somebody to reconnect with their own life force so that they can trust their decisions and make the decisions that are supportive for their healing journey.
What is it, in your professional opinion, that separates us from our life force along the way? Because I would imagine, I think we, based on that description, I'm assuming that we're born whole, and then life happens and we fracture and we lose that connection. Is that anywhere close to the mark?
Yeah, it's sort of a philosophical question you're asking, I think.
Yeah.
And I can speak from my own experience of it.
Yeah.
We are infinite spiritual intelligence channeled into a finite body. And part of channeling into a finite body, Tiffany, in this life is that I forgot at some point along the way what I really am. And the remembering of who I really am is, I think, the ultimate form of healing. That doesn't mean that I don't ever get sick or that I'm still going to die. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the feature of this human thing is impermanence, like I'm going to die. But I can be a human who is able to access the bigger truth of who she is in more and more moments, and I become more and more vital, more and more healthy, more and more alive. Did that answer your question?
Yeah,
Actually, kind
absolutely.
of.
So in your that increase in awareness that you're to be the bridge between science and spirituality, how did that evolve into this tangible practice in which you help people with through this healing journey?
So it's the question, what was the evolution of it? Of
So
this?
you had this, so you had
Mm.
this healing experience on your own, and
Mm,
how did that evolve into the the practice with which you teach now?
mm. In a in a totally quirky, bumpy ride, sort of human way. I'm sure
Hmm.
it's probably the most honest answer, but I would say the way that it evolved was continuing to answer the call, like to to let my dissatisfaction for what wasn't working and what wasn't feeling like it was in integrity for me to fuel my curiosity and my continuing to grow.
Hmm.
I think you have something in your email that's like progress. What's
Progress
your little
always. Hmm.
progress always? Yeah, it's like progress always to me. That's evolution always. Grow, expand. And so because I have this unquenchable thirst to discover what's possible for human beings, uh, that's always driven me. And as
Hmm.
I've answered each call, whether it was like, and I consider it's like I have one life that's happening. Yeah, I have my professional part of my personal life, but it's one life happening. So when I answered the call to buy a villa in Sri Lanka and teach healing retreats out of it, that was a huge part of my own recovery journey or healing journey on a physical level all the way to a spiritual level.
Hmm.
Do you want me to give an example so it kind of
Yeah.
lands it? Okay, so for example, I I I had been teaching about abundance and the Chinese five elements and our relationship to nature for years. I was teaching it in a university, and I understood it very well intellectually. But it wasn't until we went to Sri Lanka that I learned how to receive.
Hmm.
I didn't know that I didn't know how to just freaking relax and receive and let myself be taken care of. I did not know how. I didn't know how, and I didn't have a reference point for it. If we don't have a reference point, how are we going to learn?
Hmm.
So that on a physical level, it manifested in digestive problems. I had so many digestive problems that no matter what I did, and I did a lot of things, they just wouldn't heal. But going to Sri Lanka and spending time there healed my digestive system, taught me how to receive. I understood how to teach about the elements, not just from words, but transmission,
Hmm.
to transmit the energy of the element when I was teaching about it.
Hmm. What was the experience that you had that created that awakening, that expansion of your aperture?
I think it's been a series of ones. I've had a whole series of pretty, by most people's standards, out there metaphysical experiences
Hmm.
that what would feel most satisfying to you to receive around that? Like, do you want me to pick one example, or
Yeah, I
what, is there
mean,
something you feel
so
so curious about?
I'm curious as to like the catalyst in Sri Lanka that was like, oh shit, I don't know
Mm,
how to do that and
mm,
receive. I need to spend time receiving, and so that I can, to your point, I understand these concepts
mm,
intellectually,
mm,
but there's knowing and then there's knowing,
mm, mm, mm.
right?
Yeah. Okay. So to frame it, it will. I wouldn't say it was one thing that was like an aha moment, because it was definitely just the process of spending time there every year and being sort of shaped by the experiences,
Hmm.
positive and negative.
How
But
often were you, how often were you going, and how long were you spending there?
we would go every year and stay about 4 months, and then
Okay.
I would host a couple of retreats there. And so I do remember one particular moment where a lot of things uh, sparkled around this receiving.
Hmm.
And it was, so in Sri Lanka, I'm called Madam, and my husband's called Sir. And we have this beautiful villa, and we have all of these people that work for us and with us. We have a driver. We have somebody that's cleaning the house every day. We have a villa manager. We have somebody that does the grounds, like things. If we did that in we couldn't afford to do that in the United States. To have we're not That would be a lot of outlay of money. But
Hmm.
there, not only is it accessible, but also it's kind of needed. If you have a big your places in the tropics need to be cleaned every day anyway, and the cooking that they do there, I would have to be in the kitchen all day long if I was going to cook Sri Lankan style, because it's slow cooking. So excuse me. So Raju, our villa manager, would make us tea and serve it to us on this tray and call us sir and madam. And I felt so uncomfortable, like so uncomfortable being waited on in that way. And I think also there's whatever the things that I think we carry inside about being colonizers, and how we people have taken advantage of people over the years, all that stuff that's in there.
Hmm.
I just thought, oh, surely this must be wrong, for somebody to call me madam and wait on me like this. This is just wrong. And I had this moment where I looked in his eyes as he was serving me, and it gave him so much joy and pleasure to be giving us this tea made in Sri Lanka, every single leaf picked, and they have so much pride in their tea in their tea in Sri Lanka. And and I thought, wow, I'm denying generosity right here because I have some kind of idea about something, whatever, it's in there. I just relaxed, like actually relaxed. I leaned back and I looked at him and I just thanked him for the tea. And I enjoyed that cup of tea like I never enjoyed tea in my whole life. And I guess that was an aha moment. That was a
Hmm.
profound shift. That really was. It really rocked my world.
What do you think it is about? I don't know. I don't know if it's too limiting to call it American society or Western society.
Mm,
Especially if I think this is really common in high achievers and high performers. That how do we lose the ability um, to receive generosity?
mm,
How do we lose that? Where is that lost
mhm.
along the way?
I Our heart. So in Chinese medicine, the heart is not just an organ, it's our energy center. And the heart can only ever perceive the moment. So with the mind, we can kind of go back and forward in time. We can create abstractions. We can projections, but the heart can only ever know the moment. And there's a sac around the heart, around the actual heart. It's called the pericardium. But it also has an energetic function in Chinese medicine, which is that it protects the heart,
Mm-hmm.
because the heart is the sovereign and it should be protected well. And all of us experience betrayal. If I actually did this, I looked at origin stories across many different cultures, and in every origin story except for I think one that I found, at the core of the story was a betrayal. If you just take the main origin story for Christianity, say,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a triple betrayal right at the beginning, right? Eve betrays Adam. I don't know, it's like Adam, Eve, God. Then God throws them out of the garden. It's a triple betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could say betrayal energy is the oldest wound energy of humanity. And I think that that's true. And betrayal, what it does is it creates the pericardium contracts. And if you have a lot of things that happen to you, like everybody has betrayal that happens. I think everybody's betrayed and been betrayed. It's a
Mm-hmm.
facet of humanity. So your pericardium starts to tighten, just like if you get scar tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And if that scar tissue or those strictures in the pericardium don't have opportunity to soften as you age through different things, life experiences, healing journeys, plant medicines, whatever it is, then you actually grow increasingly bitter, increasingly cynical. And when the heart can't breathe because the pericardium cinched in around it, you're not able to receive the generousness of the moment. You just can't. You can't give generously, you can't receive generously. So I would say that's sort of the energetic dynamic behind
Mm-hmm.
that, as well as some ideas of how it or originates.
Do you feel like part of that dynamic exists because when that betrayal or that pattern of betrayal occurs so early and we're not equipped with the tools to manage and or articulate the emotional energy around that betrayal,
Mm,
that it becomes uh stuck inside us.
mm,
And if we're not, to your point, if we don't have a point of reference or a symbol in someone else who has l- exemplifies that expression and that healing,
mm.
that that's why that wound persists.
Yes, I would say my short answer is yes. And what I'll pull on as a thread out of there. This feels like it's a important question for you. Like you have you spent time contemplating this one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And have you experienced satisfaction in your journey of contemplating it for yourself?
I have. I it the attachment to betrayal is not necessarily what was at the forefront of my mind in my healing journey, but as you describe it, I can 100% create an association with um, that wound along the way and sorting that out, dropping that pack, as we would say in the Marine Corps,
Mm,
and letting that anchor go has 100% been a component of my personal evolution. 100%. Yeah.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It's so beautiful. Okay, two things, and I think you're going to love these. One is that the ultimate betrayal is abandonment of self.
Mm.
That's the beginning of the betrayal dynamic. We often think of betrayals from someone else to us, but it's actually abandonment of self. So when we're young and we experience trauma, we self-abandon for various reasons. In order to survive, we might dissociate. We abandon the truth of who we are in order to make parental figures happy, in order to avoid being mistreated or not being cared for, or any number of things that can happen. And so then we practice this self-abandonment. And when we practice this self-abandonment, that's the beginning of all the other kind of pathologies, if you want,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to look at
Is,
it
it
that way.
is that the impetus of drinking the poison and expecting the other person to die?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard that metaphor before, and it seems to me as you're describing this betrayal wound and all the behaviors and patterns that are born from it, uh, that that dynamic of I'm going to harm myself, not live in my fullest expression, play small, insert uh, sabotaging here.
Mm,
Uh, that dynamic, it's like I'm going to negatively impact myself in hopes that it has that negative impact on my external world.
Oh, interesting. No, I hadn't heard that, but I could see that and maybe even say some other things about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think too, something that I felt come out of you when you talked about your journey with it is it's actually my favorite definition of forgiveness, which is by Gary Zukav from Seed of the Soul. And he said, I'm paraphrasing here, but it's something like forgiveness is allowing energy to return to where it ought be.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness is allowing energy to return to where it ought to be. And this is such a cool theme that's coming through in our time together about return to wholeness and what does it mean to really heal, basically,
Mm-hmm.
is that when energy is allowed to return to where it ought be, and then you're standing in yourself, not leaving yourself, you actually start to live in a completely different universe than the universe of your wounded self and wounded experience.
Mm-hmm.
You can still be a person who had a lot of wounds or traumas, but it's not the experience that you're living moment by moment. To me, that's true pattern liberation. That's ancestral healing, that's pattern liberation.
So how does one approach pattern liberation? I really want to pull on that thread and leverage your expertise to see how deep this rabbit hole goes right here.
Okay, that sounds good. I love how you felt that impulse. What did you ask me? How does one
How does one go about facilitating their own pattern liberation?
Yeah, they have to
What
first
does that
want
look
it.
what does that look like in practice?
Okay, in practice, one, you'd have to want it. Two, you'd have to be more interested in actually being liberated than you are in the drama of healing. I think I sometimes annoy some fellow colleagues by saying things like that, but the thing is, consciousness is all.
Let me say that again for the people that are listening with the volume low. You have to be more interested in finish that sentence. You have to be more
Oh,
interested in the
I don't what. How did I say it? You have to be more interested in
being liberated.
being liberated than in the drama of the healing journey.
Okay. What does
Something like
that
that.
yeah, what does that mean?
What it really means is that you have to get serious about deciding to practice no problem. There's really two. I'm oversimplifying, but there's a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
There's two orientations that you could take to life: a problem orientation or a no problem orientation. Of course, problems exist. That's
It
true.
is no problem. I'm cutting you off on purpose
Yeah, you go ahead.
for clarity. Is a no problem orientation different than a solution orientation?
Yes. It's a vibrational difference. See if you can feel it as I talk about it. Because
Mm-hmm.
I could still be solution oriented. Okay, here, this is a good example. I experienced this in my practice, and that's why I walked away from my clinical practice, is that the whole model of the clinical practice is that you come in to see me with something wrong with you, which you do have. Say you got knee pain or something.
Mm-hmm.
So you come in to see me with knee pain, and you have an anger problem. So if I can accurately diagnose you and accurately treat you, then you should be rid of your knee pain and anger problem. So it's all pending on me diagnosing the problem and getting it right, and then you will get better. That system is inherently flawed. It's inherently flawed. And for so many reasons, but what I want to pull on is that as long as I was looking at everything that the person was coming in with as their problems, as their problem that needed to be solved, I couldn't actually see what was actually wrong with them and access that. And look, physical stuff happens and we need to deal with our physical body, but it all it really does all start at a higher level, or at a vibrational level, if you want to call that, with our mind,
Mm-hmm.
with the thoughts that we think, with the beliefs that run in there that we don't even know that we're running.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll stop there. And do you want to comment?
Well, what's showing up for me right now, we had a client a couple of weeks ago have a massive breakthrough. We were the topic of discussion was around sleep, and we were coaching through how to set up your sleep environment and curate the best experience for not only the longest duration of sleep, but also the best quality sleep. And as we move down this path of the X's and O's of best sleep practice, ultimately where we ended up getting, and I'll spare you all the details, was if you don't actually solve the issue that actually keeps you up at night, it doesn't matter how early you go to bed. It doesn't matter how dark your blackout curtains are. It doesn't matter how much white noise you play. You're not going to get the sleep that you're looking for, because you haven't solved the root issue.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Exactly.
and with that, said client was able to take some really intentional, what we refer to in next level speak, next easiest steps to move that energy, and boom, all of a sudden, one of those things of the menagerie of options that we gave to facilitate better sleep was like the catalyst for it all. But he had to clear the other stuff. He had to clear the actual issue first, make that decision for any of the other stuff to stick.
Okay, I love that. And also because it's perfect for this no problem analogy, which is that the problem got solved. And you could, from one perspective, you could say the problem got solved because you addressed the root problem. But we could also just say the problem got solved because you accurately saw what was, and you put that on the line. And what you put on the line wasn't even a problem. It was actually the miracle of this person's being trying to tell them something. And they couldn't hear it, and then they had you to deliver the message. So when we listen, when we hear, and then we respond, evolution happens. And so that's a different orientation. And so that's why I say you have to be more interested. When we're interested in the problem, my sleep is bad, my sleep is bad, my sleep is bad, my sleep is bad. See, I can't get out of that loop that keeps me victimized to my sleep being bad until something like what you just described happens. See what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm working with my coach right now. Shout out to Melanie. And she pointed out to me, she's like, how hard is it for you to articulate what you do? It's like, it's been an issue. She's like, can I make an observation? I was like, sure. Like, you were given pause and introspection to the potential that you see the world at such a cosmic level that everything's the same to you. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, look at how you approach fitness. Look at how you approach business. Look at how you approach leadership. You're so principled in your approach that there's this universal component to how you solve problems that inevitably, from client to client to client, look to the layman, the unaware, dramatically different. But in the way that you coach and approach your practice from that principled place, it's all the same to you energetically. And with that, I was just like, oh my gosh, like that's that thing that was causing me so much frustration is actually my greatest gift to my practice.
Yes, yes, yes.
So when you said, as you were describing that, uh, that's uh, the the sleep thing is really the signal that you're not hearing. Like that's what showed up for me.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel different now that you had that recognition? Is there something you own differently, or?
Oh, 100%.
Mm.
Absolutely. I, how do I say this? There was a bit of conformity around my practice, this energy of what it's supposed to be or how it's supposed to look, that with this new level of awareness, this appreciation I have for how I experience the universe,
Mm.
uh, that I'm not tied to anymore.
Mm. So
Yeah,
beautiful. Can I comment on
please.
this? Uh, it's so sublime. So we are we are at this place in the evolution of consciousness where, in spiral dynamics, which I studied for a decade.
Oh, the theory of everything. Come
Yeah.
on. Yes.
So you know about second tier consciousness, but I'll say for anybody listening to doesn't, and I really loose. I try not to go too into models now, because a big part of what I love to do is to have the creative expression to describe what's actually happening in the real moment, because that's how we create the future that's
Mm-hmm.
different from what we had before. But anyhow, in spiral dynamics, second tier consciousness is where we no longer have to push against what we don't want in order to create what we do want.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the facets of it. But another is that the labels, or as you mentioned it, conformity boxes that previously served to help us deal with complexity, they now no longer serve.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I think serves here at the edge of, I call it the edge of emergence, but consciousness emerging, is to recognize, I'm now calling it to be a meta creator, what it means to be a meta creator.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt this in you speaking about your universal viewpoint. As a meta creator, we don't even know that we do it, but we're tuning into the field.
Mm-hmm.
And we're actually paying attention to the conditions that give rise to what most people see and talk about. But we're actually cueing into those conditions. We're feeling it. We're anticipating it. We're actually creating in real time by what we then zoom in on. Oh, do you feel this? Do you see this? Have you considered this? But that's a very, very different orientation. It's a superpower, I think, than a solution oriented from my box as a coach, from my box as a healer, from my box as a whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So like feeling the discomfort of any of those labels and then coming out of it to see who you really are, I think is the most thrilling thing in the world. That's what the Lumina Guild is all about, by the way. I'll just plug that. That's why
Oh, okay.
why it's coming through now, because we
Yeah.
need a space to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Walk me through, from a practical standpoint, the difference between uh, oils and points
Mm.
and psychedelics in terms of achieving the healing that we're looking for.
Well, when you said achieving the healing we're looking for, if somebody's doing a psychedelic looking for healing, they're probably wanting something different than what a normal healing would be. Like, they're not just wanting to get rid of knee pain, say. They can feel there's something existential in there, usually when somebody decides to do plant medicine, at least in my
Mhm.
experience.
Sure.
And so one of the reasons why I haven't done it, I have so many friends that have done ayahuasca, and I have clients that facilitate these various plant medicine journeys.
Mhm.
And I just am trusting that if I'm called, I'll know and I'll do it when I'm called. But I haven't been called. And I think in the beginning, I had a significant amount of trauma in my younger years. And I think I so uh, didn't, I think I was afraid to be dismantled at the level of my mind because for reasons I won't even get into. But so for me to put oils on on points, which is
Mhm.
what I call aroma point therapy, it was this beautiful, slow, but studded with quantum points along the way, healing and recovery and integrative journey for me. So on a practical level, it helped me to find regulation in my nervous system.
Mhm.
It helped me to learn to trust myself. There's certain plant medicines that really have that signature of restoring trust where there's broken trust. Uh, Helped me remember how to play. There's one oil in particular that helped me remember how to play. So when I talk to my friends that do plant medicine journeys like ayahuasca or something, they'll have these things come online for them that are similar that
Mhm.
happened to me. It's just for me, and maybe it was perhaps a slower journey,
Mhm.
but that was the right style for me.
Yeah, yeah. And, I look at um, the psychedelic pathway. Um, I do not facilitate. I am intentionally ignorant of that practice so that I can not judge it in my own lived experience. And uh, but I also uh, have experienced people that habituate the practice, and the way I interpret psychedelics is there's two approaches. One is to uh, answer a question and integrate the answer, and
Mm,
the other is to escape, to not deal. And when I see these people that are habituating that experience, I would say it more often than not, in my experience, it's the latter. Because as I've experienced psychedelics, I look at it like getting a tattoo. Like that shit leaves something permanent with you,
mm,
So you better be called to it, because whatever you get from it, it's going to be with you,
mm.
you know. And the fact that you've had such a slow roll with uh in your journey that has sounds like excuse me your your return to self has run in parallel,
Mm.
through um what do you, I want to get the terminology right,
Aroma point therapy. Yeah.
aroma point therapy runs in parallel with those results. Is that
Yes.
accurate?
Yes, I'd say that's accurate. I think it's like, well, can I ask you, I feel your curiosity about this, and it feels like, I feel like there's something, is there something you can say that you really want to know? I know you just asked me a question, but I almost feel like there's something more pointed. I wonder if you can access it
Hmm.
because I'm leaning into it with you too. I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
know
yeah.
what it is.
I mean, the way that you practice it and the way
Mm,
that you speak of it, it's so familiar,
mm,
but it's different. So I guess what I'm after is an association. Um,
yeah.
Using your word, I'm looking for that reference point for
Yeah,
something
yeah, yeah.
for something that is unfamiliar to me.
Okay. I think my now I have done micro dosing, by the way, of THC and CBD together, which didn't, I think it can activate some of the pathways that psychedelics do. Uh, and I was very aware when I was doing it. I did it over the course of a year, and it was very helpful for me, actually. All of these substances, and including plant essences in the form of pure essential oils, they're vibrational
Mm-hmm.
in nature, and they're also vibrational activators. So they're opening up our consciousness to certain wavelengths and capacities. And in the case of psychedelics, you could say it's opening you up to other dimensions and other realms. I feel very fluid in many dimensions. Sometimes I feel like I don't need psychedelics to access different realms. I kind of just go there, like in
That
my
is so
dream time.
in my experience of Tiffany, that is so genuine and spot on. Yeah,
It's
you
so
don't you don't need the assistance to pierce the veil.
yeah.
Yeah.
My friends will even say, I'll tell them an experience I had, and they'll go, "Oh my God, it sounds like you did an ayahuasca journey." I said, "No, it just happened. Like that just happened today." So, so what I know is that there's so much more than meets the eye. Of course, we
Mm-hmm.
know that, and as we loosen the grip of our attachment to the five senses to give us a sense of safety, we can surf through these realms of experience. Like when I'm working with clients, or even when I'm talking to you right now, I'm feeling and sensing and reading energy, kind of like the way on the Matrix when the code is dripping down the screen. Like I feel like I see worlds like that. I see conversations, I see interactions like that. So these are all capacities that we can tap into when we have things that open our consciousness, and psychedelics can really do that for people.
Mm-hmm.
Break down the rigid walls, help them open up, help them access vaults of things that have been locked away for their whole life. Maybe it was passed down multiple
Mm-hmm.
generations. So it's like the psychedelics are, they're imprinting you with something, but they're awakening you to more of you.
Yeah.
And I think if it's put into context that way, it's very empowering. And the essential oils, so they do that. When you put it on a point, you're basically putting the vibration of a plant consciousness on the vortex of a point, which is an energy access center on the body. And when they touch, it's like music. It makes music. It creates a certain vibrational signature that goes through that whole meridian and touches that internal organ. And within seconds, it impacts the entire limbic system of the brain. So you're being vibrationally altered. And I would say with psychedelics, you're also being vibrationally altered.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the parallel.
There you go. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
Yeah.
How does one, with this dynamic that exists within you, this vessel that is Tiffany, as I've experienced her, how do you not walk around the world with sensory overload?
I'm super selective.
Tell me
I
more.
have become, well, I I don't watch TV, or that we haven't had TV in 10 years. I don't watch TV. I have somebody that runs my social media specifically, so I don't go on there very often. I still go on sometimes to post personal things, but I'm selective there. I'm selective about what I let in my sphere, about who I let in my home, about who I spend time with, and not as I'm turning my nose up to people thing. Like I actually genuinely love human beings, and I think my life experience has given me this level of compassion for the human experience that's rare for people to have. That's genuine, I can say that. But
Mm-hmm.
I take myself seriously. I know I'm an important person. I know that I'm here for a reason, and I want to take care of this vessel. I want to keep myself clear. I want to be as present as I can possibly be. I take my spiritual practices in the morning really seriously, but I do all that not from this place of like being hard on myself. I have done that in the past. I do it because I love myself so much.
Mm.
And when I do that, I do my spiritual practices. I work with my oils. I work with other practitioners. I have coaches. Like I do all these things so that I reinforce myself. And when I'm reinforced and I'm present in my body, I am inherently protected. I don't get overwhelmed. But when I slide, when I don't have my practices, when I jump right into my day, when I check my text first thing in the morning, when I'm trying to accommodate other people, then yeah, I'm overwhelmed. I go to the grocery store and I get overwhelmed. But I know what makes me overwhelmed. It's being porous, and I know I have control over that.
Give me some wisdom around being less porous.
I think of it, I have to say really quick, by the way, though, because I love the way you receive people. It's really special. The way you receive people, the way you see people. It's really, really something. Yeah.
Thank you. I received that fully.
It's so nice. It brings like whatever is coming up and out in me now is this is a co-creation. It's coming out in the way that it's coming out because of you, and I'm really pleased with how I feel. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Wisdom around being porous. I think of trees. I have done a lot of work with empaths because I'm an empath, and for a long time my clinical practice was basically empaths that had autoimmune diseases. So I basically treated what I had. And what I found is that if people would really reinforce themselves, if they would fill themselves up with themselves, then they would be much more protected and less susceptible to tuning into everybody else's energy. So if you're so tuned into your frequency,
Mm-hmm.
and you're directly accessing all of the intelligence of the earth and the crystals and the microorganisms, like you intentionally tune into that, you intentionally tune up, you're accessing, I always call this direct access. I do it every morning. I'm directly accessing my own higher guidance, my higher self, my future self, my guiding ancestors. So you connect in with all that's here for you, all that you are, fill yourself up, and then go out in the world. And if you feel off, stop and do it again. And permission yourself to walk away from anything that doesn't feel good. Anything. I mean that in a, sometimes things don't feel good, but they don't feel, sometimes you work out and you get a burn because it's good for you.
That's iron sharpening iron. You got to you got to temper the steel. That's a totally different dynamic.
Yeah, that's right.
But where my energy just went though is in choosing self, in walking away from the things that don't serve you. There's an inherent friction or resistance that the universe will present to varying degrees in the immediate aftermath of that choice. Right? It's not free.
Do you want to give an example? I think I know what you mean, but I want to hear it.
Yeah. Deciding to walk away from my brick and mortar training facility so that I could live into and embody this higher level of coaching and service. Right? There was a months-long shitstorm that immediately followed that decision. And it's that the idea of it, because this is one of the things that I'm very intentional in the language I use, in how I coach this concept of choosing self. There's no guarantee that everything's going to go supremely south. However, you must be willing being the operative term here, to weather that storm, to step into the higher, better version of yourself. Right? And the idea of that storm, whatever you think that might look like, is the mind fuck that keeps people stepping on the gas and the brake at the same time.
I think that's actually what causes most of the suffering and the resistance. Because yes, it's true, my experience too. I remember when I knew for 5 years that I needed to walk away from my clinical practice, and I still stayed in it. It was my livelihood. I was scared about my financial security. You know, that's often, I think, a big one that comes for people around making different choices like that.
Mhm. Yeah. So how does one shorten that feedback loop and step courageously towards their more evolved self?
I've been practicing this actively right now because I let go of everything that I'm going to answer your question directly, but I want to say this first. I had in previous years, I had a program that I run every year that's super successful, brings in generally 150 to 200K a year for me. I had a certain way that I worked with clients one-on-one that would bring in $200,000 to $500,000 a year. I had there was one other, I'm just escaping me right in the moment, but something else that was substantial financially, that, and everything in me was like, let it go. And I had to sit with, is this sabotage? Am I sabotaging my business? Like, what in the hell was going on? And all I knew was I think you know what I talk about here is all I was getting was the next step. Like, choose to let this go. And I did it in an elegant way, where I could pass the torch, etc. I didn't just scrap it all swiftly,
Mhm.
but I could only, I I didn't know. My mind wanted to know exactly where my money was going to come from and exactly what I was doing next. And what soul and source were saying is, no, do this next thing, and then the space will open for you to know. Because it's who I became in making those choices that opened me up to receive what comes next. That's how it works. So I think just having that narrative and that understanding that, look, your mind's going to freak the F out. Just expect it. Here's the tools. Get some help. And know that this is all for you. It's happening for you. It's happening for you. It's happening for you. It's happening for you. And we're never going to get it done. Like, there's always going to be, I thought when we bought our villa in Italy, somehow, like, because it was the biggest dream to buy this villa in Italy, and it was a big catalyst for my business shifting and stuff. We bought the villa in Italy, and I was already, it wasn't, by that time, it was like not the right fit for us anymore. It was on to the next thing. So it's just, if we let ourselves go, knowing that it's all in service and that the glory is in the journey, then, but I can't make somebody believe that. They have to come to that on their own terms, as I'm sure you know. And I'm really
Oh.
coming to it now myself.
Mhm. You truly embody your work, and this is a realization that I've known and that I am coming to know, is that, to your point about, you can't bring somebody to that realization. That's something that they have to figure out for themselves on their own time.
Mm.
I am like fixated on the beginning of our conversation about being having a reference point,
Mm.
right? The show me the proof that if I take this next easiest step, everything opens,
Mm.
and that by not doing it, everything remains closed.
Mm.
And what I'm experiencing in you right here, right now, is you are embodying, you embody that reference point for people
Mm.
that isn't necessarily readily available in their lived experience prior to coming into their experience with Tiffany.
Mm. Thank you for saying that.
Mm.
And I feel like celebratory inside also, because my, I realized that my job description for life, kind of speaking to the story that you told about being out of the molds, uh, my job description in life is really to simply live my life and show what's possible. live my freaking life and show what's possible. And I genuinely want to be someone that people can believe in because I believe that we need people that we can believe in. I'm not talking about being put on a pedestal. I'm talking about when I am transparent with my transformation and my transformational journey.
Mm-hmm.
And because I want to show that this is real life and I'm real human and this is how it happens.
Yeah.
Oh, Kiara's crying. I don't know if you can hear her.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So wonderful.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just affirmation and
Mm-hmm.
confirmation of me doing what I set out to do. So thank
Yeah.
you. Good.
You're doing it, and I feel it, and I'm honored to have you in my circle and call you friend.
Ditto that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where can everyone listening engage with you?
It's a really good question. I'm just starting to do more broadcasting on YouTube, and so we put my YouTube channel there. So I encourage people to go there because there's some really beautiful content coming out there. And also my email, tiffany@tiffanycarole.com. People can email me. I have a book that I just got the proof of. So it's being printed right now, but I just want to show this is the book. And it's
Pull it up, push it, raise it a
can you
little
see
bit,
it?
a
You
little
see it
higher.
good? Higher?
Well, there you go. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
For those of
Inner.
you just listening, not watching, the inner nature of essential oils.
Mm-hmm. And this can be found on a website called monara.org. That's our essential oil business. Anyway, this book,
Menorah,
when
like the Jewish candle? Menorah?
Monara.
Got it. Okay.
Monara. It means peacock in Sri Lankan.
Beautiful.
Monara.org.
Okay.
So if people are interested in the plant medicine pieces that we talked about, that's in here, plus simple practices you can do. And really everything that I've been transmitting and talking about, it's in here. And I share clinical pearls, I share personal stories, and you get to know 36 plant medicines, and you get to allow them to help bring certain things online and awaken certain things and help you integrate things and have ahas. So I just recommend, even if you're like essential oils, I'm not into those. I still think you should get this book if you're into human potential and transformation. And right now we have it just on the monara.org, but soon it will be on Amazon.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Tiffany, thank you so much for your time, your energy, and your wisdom. I'm grateful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to
Absolutely.
everybody listening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I wish you all the best. And thank you for doing this. Wow.
Cool. Thank you. For everybody out there listening, in the aspiration of being the fittest leader that requires integrity, courage, and ownership. And we're here to bring you back to your peace, presence, and power on that journey. So get a hold of us, let us support you, and we can make that happen. And at the end of the day, it all starts with alignment first. We'll see you next time.